Hey, it's Minute Book Reports. This is a quick video on The Martian. If you just want the summary of The Martian, the book, you can just watch one of the videos I made earlier this week. It's the drawing one with the sort of the really quick bare basics on what the story is about. But this is sort of a different type of video. It's more like a random unscripted book discussion vlog, I guess. But this is just something that I want to do because I went to go watch the movie, and I don't often watch movies, especially with the books. I usually wait till way later to actually go and watch the movie. But I decided to go with my family, and so it was a good experience. And I just want to talk about sort of what I got out of it. And it's not really a which was better movie versus book, or this isn't a the differences between the two. But I did want to talk about sort of this idea that the movies and the books, like in general, which ones are better. And I think The Martian is a great example where the movie is actually pretty good on its own. And in fact, I would recommend, if someone said, "Oh, should I read the book?" I probably would say don't read the book. And there's not too many times I actually would say that. And so here's why I think you don't really need to read the book. You could probably just watch the movie. So the first thing that I thought the movie did really well was helping out with the visuals. So when I'm reading the books for this channel and just in general, like I try to imagine what's going on, and sometimes it's hard for me to like visualize what I'm actually seeing. And so when I read the book, I had a hard time like visualizing what all the space stuff looked like. So like I know Mars is generally like red and it's a desert and a lot of rocks, but I didn't know what like the space suit looked like. I didn't know what the HAB looked like, the MAV, a lot of the tools that he used. I had a really difficult time just visualizing things. If you look at my video where I did the drawings, that's about how detailed my mind was. So when I watched the movie, it was just nice to see like what these things actually look like, like the rovers or like the Pathfinder or the probe. Again, like most of the time, it's nice to be able to have the freedom to imagine what you're actually seeing, but it almost got to the point where as I was reading the story, it became a distraction because I had no idea what some of these things look like. In watching the movie, it just like boom, it like presented that for you, and you didn't have to really work, which again, I know may not necessarily be that great. It was still just very nice to just see it, and in terms of the reading experience, I don't think it took anything like away from that. It definitely helped with like the visuals. So I think the second thing was the science, and in the book, it talks a lot about the science, and even in the movie, it sort of discusses some of that. But in the book, it's like heavy on the science, and I'm not really a science person, so I don't really understand the water process part. I don't understand like the soil part, and a lot of things that he was doing. Again, I just didn't understand or grasp it, and so it was sort of lost on me. But in the movie, they did a pretty good job of just giving you enough, like presenting the challenges that he did have. The movie just explains that he's really good at science and he can figure things out, like the math. He can just figure it out, which is really great, and it skips a lot of like time in the book. Again, sort of similar to like the visuals of the story. It either like assumes or presumes, or it's just given that the science works. And I think that's very helpful. And again, that's not stuff that you would lose if you were to like read like the book. I don't think that, or not read the book, I don't think you lose that, because it doesn't really add to the story. It just adds to his character. But if they explain that he can figure this stuff out, then I don't think that they need to go into that far depth of the science part. So the last thing that the movie presented that I thought did really well was it focused on Watney, and it didn't like distract us with all the other peripheral characters. I mean, they did explain some things, and they all had like certain personalities, which was great. But it remembered that this was a survival story about an astronaut on a planet, and that was the main focus. As I was reading the book, that's all I thought about. In my video where I draw and summarize the story, that's an example or sort of expression of that, where I really didn't care about all the NASA people. All I focused on was Watney and him trying to survive. And it's not that those other characters aren't important, it's just that that's not the main story. The main story is about this guy trying to survive and fighting and struggling, and NASA trying to help him, but it's not about the directors or you know, all those, even the even his crew. It's really not about those guys. It's about him, especially because in the book it's written from his perspective. And so I'm glad that the movie focused on that, and it didn't give like all these side stories and backgrounds that were not really important. A lot of TV shows will do that. They'll sometimes sort of have like episodes dedicated to certain side characters, and that's really good when you have that time. But I think that in the context of this movie, it did a good job of focusing on what the reader would focus on, which I think is Watney and his experience trying to survive. So again, like overall, it's not to say that you shouldn't go and read the book. I think that the book is great and I really enjoyed it. But in this instance, and this isn't in too many instances, I think that the movie actually is a pretty good experience I mean, especially because it saves you so much time versus reading. But I think it was like, I don't want to say good enough because that's not what it sounds. It sounds like it's bad, but I think that the reading experience and the movie experience are very close. Like you don't miss a lot when you just watch the movie versus like reading the book. In this case, now I think in most times it's probably better to read the book because you get to like work on your imagination and you get to experience the story like on a different level, right? That's what everyone will say. But I think in this instance, it sort of proves that it's not always going to default to the book as being like the better experience. And so for me in this case, I think it's okay to just watch the movie. You know, you don't have to read the book in this case, which is really nice. And it's a good thing to say. And that's really a lot of credit to the director and the screenwriter and of course the source material. So that was really nice and I had a good time experiencing both the book and the movie. So again, thanks for watching this video. I don't know how often these will be. I just wanted to kind of do it because it's something that I want to sort of talk about and share. The drawing book report videos will not go away. I'll continue to do those as well, but I just wanted to kind of do this maybe every so often, just kind of talk about certain things, especially after reading some of these things. It's sort of like book discussion after. It's sort of like extra credit over time. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's sort of what this type of video will be about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you just want to know the summary, you can watch the previous video I made that summarizes the book, or you can go watch the movie too. Again, it's pretty good. Thank you so much for watching the video, and subscribe, like, all that good stuff. All right, see ya.